1, 2, 3. All right, we're live. I have Nick Breau on the podcast, and long story short, he's someone I follow because he's super knowledgeable about Abraham Hicks, and he's changing lives. He has the collective group, and he has like, how many books do you have, Nick?
I've got 2 paperbacks. So I've got one paperback that went out 4 years ago. I've got my new paperback that went out this week, and then I've got a short Kindle ebook called Single No More, which is about relationships.
That's the one you read, right, Jasmine?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any questions to start off? Because me and her are both young, single people who are looking for that other half.
I think the one question I had, so for my archetype, I am the comfortably single. I'm not actively looking, but obviously deep down, I do want a relationship. I do want that connection with someone eventually. And you mentioned that, so the root cause of this archetype is that it might be due to a split energy. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so when it comes to relationships, there's typically 2 things that we look at, right? One is emotions and the other thing is split energy. Emotions are what dictate the type of people you attract in relationships. So if you've got a lot of emotions of not good enough, then you're going to attract partners who treat you like you're not good enough. If you've got a lot of emotions of abandonment, you're going to attract partners who might abandon you, who might be emotionally unavailable. So emotions define the type of people you attract. And then split energy, what split energy does, and for those of you guys who don't know what split energy is when part of you wants something, but part of you doesn't. So let's say you're in a relationship and that relationship has a traumatic ending, then part of you wants a relationship because you want to get married and have babies, but then another part of you is afraid of being in a relationship because you're afraid to go through that same trauma, right? And for some people, it might be having been cheated on, but it doesn't have to be a big trauma. So it could be something as simple as being in a relationship for a year with somebody that's very controlling. Because what happens is your subconscious mind then says, oh, when I'm in a relationship, I can be controlled and I can't do what I want. So then it's not safe for me to be in a relationship because I can't do what I want to do anymore. So what happens is at a subconscious level, good. So what happens is at a subconscious level, part of us is now afraid of that thing, and that creates split energy. And the end result of split energy is one of 2 things. So you'll develop a self-sabotaging behavior. So in the context of relationships, what'll happen is a couple of months into a relationship, you really start to maybe fall in love, and the subconscious mind starts to kick in and go, oh, this isn't safe anymore. It's not safe to be in love with somebody. Then you start to subconsciously do things to mess up the relationship. Or the other thing is it kind of puts up this like energetic wall where no matter how much time you spend on Tinder, on Bumble, no matter how many dates you try to line up, you just can't attract anybody. So those are the impacts of split energy, and that's where it comes from.
Go ahead, Jasmine.
So how do you deal with, throughout the book, you describe techniques to and I guess it's more of like clearing all of those subconscious beliefs and negative emotions that you have about relationships before you can actually attract the right person for you. And so how do you navigate that fine line between kind of holding yourself back, especially at the beginning, to watch out for those warnings and red flags versus allowing and being vulnerable enough to possibly get hurt again?
I think it's about understanding that contrast always serves us, right? So physical reality is always bringing to us what it is that we need to experience for our own growth and our own evolution, right? So, the whole self-help journey, whether you come into it from the context of law of attraction or anywhere else, it's a journey to rediscovering, our own authenticity, who we really are, and how powerful we really are as creators, right? So, we're essentially born into physical reality. Our mind is wiped from the awareness of the non-physical. We go through 10 or 15 years growing up with the family, picking up their beliefs, experiencing maybe some trauma, some programming. And then the journey is about undoing all of this stuff. And part of the undoingness is physical reality, is our inner being, co-creating experiences to bring these things into our awareness to be brought up and dealt with so that we in turn raise our vibration and find more levels of alignment.
And one of my favorite, yeah, that was really great. And one of my favorite analogies that got me through like discovering that I had subconscious beliefs was like considering my mind like a virtual machine. Like all I literally had to do was click on the X and my real self was there, not the subconscious programming that, you know, my family and my parents and adults growing up and how my friends treated me. That was a huge awakening for me.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we all have this stuff, and a lot of people get hard on themselves because they realize that, oh, you know, I've got this fear, I've got this subconscious negative belief. But it's all part of the human experience, and it's okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's about understanding that that stuff is there. And for those of us who are aware that that stuff is there, we have the choice to deal with this stuff and look at it and clear it out, which will ultimately better our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, quick question. Let's say I'm someone who is looking for a relationship, for example. Do you recommend me to, whether it's relationship or money, like whatever, do you recommend me to just, you know, have fun, raise my vibration, get in alignment, which is usually what I teach? Or could you talk about what vibrational matching, or, you know, should I kind of consciously, deliberately choose to kind of focus to cultivate some of the feelings of you would get in a relationship, like love and, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like specifically that, like visualization.
Yeah, so the challenge with chasing after things in that way is that in parallel to chasing after anything, so doing any process to try to make something manifest, in parallel, you're tuning into the vibration of the absence of that desire, right? So the focus of my new book and the focus of the collective and a lot of what I teach now is about not focusing on manifestation per se, but focusing on what I call stepping into the new paradigm. So the next level of law of attraction, the leading edge of the leading edge, is understanding that it's no longer about chasing after this, that, or the other thing. It's about experiencing what I call the pizza paradigm and understanding that from a place of pure positive joy and pure positive pleasure, everything you want is going to start to trickle into your reality. Okay. So here's an example. So back in late fall, Nick and I took a weekend getaway to a town about 2 or 3 hours away. And we had dinner reservations. And this is what I call the pizza paradigm. We had dinner reservations at a really expensive steakhouse. And we spent the whole day hanging out in town, shopping, visiting like old used bookstores. We were just really in alignment that day. And as it was getting close to our dinner reservation, I was like, you know what? I don't feel like going to this big expensive steakhouse. I'm just in the mood for pizza.
Yeah, I remember this.
So we canceled that reservation and just went to this pizza place and sat down at the pizza place. And it was like a super, super aligned experience. So like we got double the pizza for the price because they accidentally used the wrong crust. We wouldn't have cared. But the manager came over and he's like, you know what? We made the wrong crusts. We're going to box those up for you. You can take them home for you, and we're going to make your pizzas over again from scratch. So we had double the pizza. They had my favorite dessert there, which nobody ever carries, which is tiramisu. The owner hung out with us for like, I don't know, 20 minutes. Great conversation, super fun. So it was an extremely high vibe, pleasurable experience. And when you're in that type of experience, when you're in that state in your physical reality, you don't give a shit about manifestation anymore, right? So the new paradigm approach to law of attraction is step away from the efforting to manifest to try to make yourself feel better. Focus on the pleasure, focus on the feeling good. And from that state, that's where you're experiencing so many synchronicities, so much pleasure. You don't care about manifestation anymore. And that's what you really want to reach for. And that's what's going to let everything in.
So when you say, you know, focus on, you know, the pleasure and feeling good and everything. So even if it's just like any type of pleasure in general, right? Like you're having a great time eating pizza, and that will translate into somehow, you know, indirect manifestations, right? Like
Yeah, absolutely. Or direct or indirect. So here's another example. So, back in the fall, I watched HBO Successions. Okay. And that show is all about, it's an HBO series about a show which is about a billionaire. Okay.
Yeah.
So this show gives you a glimpse at this level of wealth and luxury that's just ridiculous. Okay. And after watching that show, I was like, wow, that whole billionaire lifestyle is fascinating. So I got fascinated about that lifestyle. So I started watching whenever I would do my workouts or before going to bed, I'd pull up YouTube and I would watch these mega yacht,
Yeah.
right? And I'd watch these like $50 million mansion tours. And it's like, they're ridiculous. It's like rooms with 3,000 bottles of wine. Who needs 3,000 bottles of wine in their home? Right? But it's fascinating. And I like watching these shows. I wasn't watching it to try to manifest anything. It was just the pleasure of seeing these mega yachts and this luxury. Like, it just felt really good to watch it. And then about 6 weeks after I started watching all of this stuff, I had a new member sign up for the Collective, which is my membership program. We got like 350-ish members now. She signs up and we start chatting. She's like, oh, I'm in Fort Lauderdale. And turns out what she does for work is she sells charters on these mega yachts. Okay. And then about 3 days before we flew down to Fort Lauderdale last month, I get an email from her. She's like, oh, hey, Nick, there's a special private cocktail event happening on one of these mega yachts. Do you and I, Nick, want to come? Right? So I literally went from watching YouTube videos and being in this state of pleasure to, 3 or 4 months later, standing on one of these mega yachts, right? And then a couple of days after that, I met somebody in a restaurant who was at that level of wealth and had a conversation with them. So by me simply being in this state of pleasure around this topic, this billionaire experience has started to trickle into my reality.
Wow.
That is so amazing.
Yeah, but the best part isn't standing on the mega yacht or talking to these people. The best part is like the joy of the synchronicities, the joy of the unfolding, right?
I'm sure people will say, like, what are the odds of that happening? But no, it was all planned. It was destined.
Yeah, even if you asked me 3 or 4 months ago if I had ever even stood close to a mega yacht, I would have said no.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, something clicked just now with what you're saying, and it's kind of like your vortex is kind of calling you, right? Like your inner being knows what's in your vortex, blah, 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 and there's the path of least resistance. So sometimes I wonder, like, okay, I see, my physical health getting better. I see, like, my podcast and everything doing really well. I see, like, unfoldings. I see manifestations. But then I look at some other area of my life, like dating or whatever, and I don't think about it or anything, but there's, like, no real, like, I don't see much progress in that little area, for example, but I'm still following my joy. I'm still, I see all these manifestations in my life, but
here's a little mental shift to make. Okay. The progress that you're not seeing, let's call that evidence. Okay.
Okay.
Evidence is evidence of nothing other than the vibration you've been practicing.
Okay.
You want me to repeat that one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
So your physical reality evidence. So any evidence that you see is evidence of nothing other than what's in your vibration.
Okay, so that's amazing. And that's what I've been thinking about. But then what's the fine line between that and taking into account what you said, should I, from this moment, let's say I do want a relationship or whatever, should I continue my path of joy and just kind of go with that general path of joy? Because I'm having a blast in my life. Or should I kind of, like
have the laser focus?
Yeah. So step number 1, are you clear on what you want?
No, I was going to ask you about, like, I'm so bad. Now I'm saying this, but I'm reaffirming the story. But I can improve upon, like, my ability to actually get specific about what I want, because I stayed pretty general with it. I just know I wanted to have an amazing podcast where,
Here's an example of why it's important to get clear on what you want. And I actually use this example in the new book. So let's say your friend calls you up and your friend's like, I need laundry detergent. Can you go to Whole Foods and get me some laundry detergent? Okay, that's all they say. You end up at Whole Foods, there's a giant rack filled with laundry detergent. Okay, there's the powder, there's the liquid, there's scented, there's unscented, there's like dozens and dozens of different kinds.
Yeah.
How easy is it for you to know which one to grab? And what are the chances you're going to grab the one that he wants? Probably pretty minimal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, what if he calls you up and he says, Andy, I want the peach scented liquid with the little kid on the cover. Okay. Now he's gotten clear on what he wants. He's told you exactly what he wants. So in which two of those scenarios is he going to get the desire that he's looking for?
Well, right. But what is the line between getting too specific? Because for me, getting specific feels like efforting to me.
Okay,
you know?
pause.
It feels like, yeah.
I got the answer to that too. I actually talked to Abraham about this last year in the hot seat.
No way.
So you want to get as specific as possible as long as it continues to feel good. If you're getting specific and it starts to create wobble, if it starts to not feel good, that's when you want to stop and take a step back. Okay. And if it's not feeling good, that's an indication that there's a piece of resistance there that you can work through.
And why would it not feel good?
Maybe like it could be a fear. It could be a belief that I'm not good enough.
Oh, I see. Got it.
Well, Jasmine, like, so for my, like, a real life current example is the fact that, like, you know, I know that I want my platform to be a big success and I want to have a great following and I want to make a lot of money and stuff, whatever. Like, but then I don't know how to, like, make that more specific, you know? Like, I don't know. Yeah.
But here's the thing, okay? Everything you're building, everything you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're having fun with it, if it's a blast,
yes.
Does it matter how many people sign up?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And that's kind of my question. I'm like putting all my eggs in this fun basket. I'm just like, yo, I'm having such a blast. I don't even like care about being specific. And that's kind of my thing. But I'm wondering, like, should I be more specific? Because I'm not good at setting goals. I've never been. And like, do I want to say, like, should I?
That's good because goals are old paradigm, right?
Okay.
So new paradigm is following your impulse of excitement and pleasure and doing everything you do from that energy. But that doesn't mean not having desires, right? So you can still have desires. You can still want the 10,000 person platform. You can still want to write a book. You can still want to have a podcast. But you don't care whether it happens or not because you're being too busy enjoying life.
Yeah, and so here's kind of what happened a few months ago. So like I told you, I've only been high vibrational since June. So like my math stat figures are about to be like 9 months or whatever. So like I said, I've seen progress in my life. But I remember I wanted to see more immediate progress. I guess just more progress.
I think you're having some speaker issues there, Andy.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but it's really echoey. You're getting that too, eh, Jasmine?
Yeah, it's a little robotic.
Oh, man. Let me go inside. Let me go inside real quick.
I am learning so much.
It is really loud inside. Never mind.
Seems like it's okay now. It seems like maybe since you moved, it fixed itself.
Is it better now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anyways, so I was just noticing that, like, I see so much movement in my life, and just goes back to that whole relationship thing. But this is a real analogy, which is I noticed that, like, I wanted to be in better physical shape, but like I wasn't noticing anything, too much progress. And then so what I did was I started to think positively about my body. So one thing that I found easy to do, enjoyable to do, was when I was in the gym, after I get done with the set, I would like, for my rest, I would walk around the gym and I would just kind of pretend that I'm like in my ultimate physical shape, feeling good. And that was really enjoyable. And then like, I start seeing like manifestations and evidence, right? I started to see that I will find for the first time in my life, I found like the perfect routine that I enjoyed. I had all these paradigm breakthroughs about working out, actually enjoying and working out, and then blah, blah, blah. And then like, I've been working out consistently ever since. And that's a while ago. So, and like, I'm still seeing that unfold. But that momentum started when I started to positively think about, going to the gym, So I'm just kind of like wondering, what if I didn't choose to just kind of spend a minute every day just kind of tuning into that frequency? Does that make sense at all? Am I making sense here?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about understanding that like anything you do, you're bringing your vibration into that activity with you, right? So when I look at law of attraction, I see most people are doing focus wheels and meditations and positive aspect lists, all from an underlying vibration or energy of effort.
Yes.
Trying to make something happen. And that's not congruent towards results. You have to do the processes for the sheer enjoyment of the processes themselves.
Yes. And how I make that applicable is the way I teach it, and I'm curious how you kind of talk about this, is I teach it, it's like when you're already kind of in that flowing state, like, because every one of us at some time in the day feel better than, or floating a little higher than the rest of the day kind of thing. And when you're floating kind of the highest during your day, that's the time to kind of practice, I don't know, like appreciation. For me, like that's the time I find it easy to practice appreciation. That's the time I practice the positive aspects and stuff. But if I'm not feeling it, like I'm not really doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Abe says, alignment should always be your number one priority.
Okay.
It's always get into alignment and then get into alignment. If I'm not in alignment, I won't touch anything that has anything to do with my business.
So real quick question for you personally, how often do you practice vibrational matching nowadays? Like how often do you like, are you just like all in on, following your impulse, being high vibrationally aligned?
Yeah. Answer is B. So I just do whatever. I get up and I'm feeling good when I get up. Like I sleep maybe 5 hours a night now recently. Like I wake up and I just go impulse to impulse to impulse to impulse. And I just do what excites me. If it doesn't excite me and it's not fun, then I won't do it.
Wow. Okay. But was it always like this? Because I hear you talk about vibrational matching. Well, like, as far as, was it always like this, like, as far as like when you started to raise your vibration?
Let me give you a perfect example.
Okay.
So about 2-3 years ago, I had this brilliant idea. I was going to create this website with this membership program. There was going to be weekly live calls. I call it the Alignment Academy. I did a whole bunch of 3 months of coding work. I built the website, and the Alignment Academy lasted maybe 3 months, and then it just tanked. Didn't go anyways. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
And then about, back in June, July, I had 2 group coaching programs that were finishing at the same time, a money one and a mastery one.
Yeah.
Everybody kept asking for more. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired of starting and stopping and reselling group coaching programs all the time. I'm just going to create a monthly group program. It'll be $100 a month. People can sign up when they want. They can quit when they want. That's path of least resistance for me. That's going to be easy, right? And then, 6 months later, I'm reflecting back on the Alignment Academy, and I'm like, holy shit, the collective, this membership program that I created, is exactly what I tried to do with the Alignment Academy 2 years ago.
Wow.
The difference is 2 years ago, I tried to create it through effort. I stopped, I let it go. I just followed my flow, my impulses, and then those impulses synchronistically led to the collective, which now has 350 members.
Wow. So real quick, what should people expect from the collective calls? Like if okay, let's say I'm interested, what do I get from that?
Yeah, so what the collective was, it kind of inspired by Abraham Hicks. So for me, we travel to typically the Abraham Hicks cruise is like once a year. And the reason I keep going back to the cruises isn't so much for the seminars. Like the seminars are great and like getting in the hot seat is fun, but you know, I've done that enough times now, but it's not such a luxury anymore. Really, the reason we go back is for the friends, the people, that high vibe community.
Aw.
And because it's so uplifting. You know the saying that if you want to be a millionaire, hang out with people who are millionaires, right?
Wow.
So the idea for the collective was like, you know, it's great to get together with these people, you know, once or twice a year, but what if we could connect every weekend or every week, right? So the purpose behind the collective is creating kind of that same high vibe environment in that, creating that online family. And eventually it's going to expand to like, you know, monthly meetups in cities and stuff like that. Right now it's all online. But that's kind of the focus of the collective. And lately we've been calling it the vibrational 1%, right?
Wow. Wow.
You know, I think that's why people have been feeling so much fear and anxiety, obviously over this whole coronavirus, because everyone's secluded and has to be quarantined. And a lot of people do live alone by themselves. And it's like, it's just so easy for all this negativity and news to kind of affect.
And you should have seen, like, our calls are twice, we do 2 calls every Tuesday for different time zones. And like everybody in the collective is pumped and excited and happy, right?
Us too, yeah.
Because our vibrations are in the right place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the collective in a nutshell. It's cheap. I teach every week, or we do 3 weeks on, 1 week off. People call it the leading edge of the leading edge. And it's just been growing like crazy. And it's the best thing I've ever done with my business.
Oh. And is it more casual, or is it like a Q&A? Like, do you talk about specific topics every week?
Yeah, there's 2 types of calls. So we alternate week after week. So there's general calls where I'll teach stuff for maybe 15 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. 2 weeks ago, the call was all about the Abraham Hicks cruise and what was going on worldwide. This week, it was all about pleasure, using pleasure as a tool for manifestation. And then every other week, we do what's called office hours, which is just straight up hot seat. So we get on the call and I'm like, okay, what do you guys want to talk about? So just like an Abraham Hicks event.
And I do have one specific question. So in your opinion, so for example, with a relationship, if I specify everything that I want, what if that's not actually the best for me? And do you think the universe is powerful enough to present someone who would be better?
Oh, absolutely. So relationships, it's a refinement process, right?
Yeah.
So you get into your first relationship, you figure out what you like, you figure out what you don't like. That relationship at some point ends, you get more clear, more specific. The next one shows up, hopefully it matches that. And with every relationship, you keep fine-tuning what you want. But like, you're not limited to just what you can perceive as possible. Like, did I ever consider that I was going to be standing on a mega yacht, just a couple of months ago, right? It just happened, right? Or like Anik and I, the synchronicities that we have, like, did I ever set my intent to have that crazy of a vibrational match with somebody? No, right? So as long as you're not limiting yourself with your vibration and your beliefs, then sky's the limit.
And would you mind explaining exactly how you guys met?
The funny thing about that is, for me, everything happens through these big synchronicities. And her and I just met through a friend, right? I was hanging out with one of my friends. He was hanging out with her, and he called me up. He's like, hey, do you guys want to come hang out and meditate? And that's how we met. But we have the cool synchronicities where, my name is Nick, her name is Anik. So we have the same names. We eventually realized that we left our marriages on the same day before we ever met.
Whoa.
I love that. Wow.
Yeah, she's you guys' biggest fan.
And what I really love is, so a few months ago, a few weeks ago, I actually finally felt ready for a relationship. And ever since then, I've just been getting like examples of great relationships. Versus before, I've only seen dysfunctional relationships and people that have broken up. So the fact, like, even having this synchronicity is definitely a sign.
Totally, right? And just reading Single No More might have brought some awarenesses that created some of those shifts around what you got going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I want to just ask about kind of your story. That's something I'm very interested in for someone being 9 months in of raising my vibration, being in alignment. I see a lot of amazing things happen. I hear you talk about it was like a year and a year and a half in when like all like the really like you met your is it your wife now or your
there's no term that really
your soulmate, and you know like all these amazing things are happening to you. What was that like? When did all the big stuff start to happen for you? Was it immediate or like you know I'm talking about like typical big dreams that you know like the relationships and like money and like all that? How was that? You know?
Yeah, I mean it's funny to use the term big stuff because now my perception of big stuff has changed so much, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, my goal when I graduated from high school was to retire by the time I hit 30, right? And then I jumped from startup to startup. The big tech acquisition happened about 10 years into that world, I think. I probably spent about 10 or 12 years in tech. So the acquisition happened in my early 30s. So that was what I would say most people would call like the first big manifestation.
Was that while you were in alignment? Like while you were?
It was about, I had been studying this stuff for a little while already, but it was really when I started to kind of focus on it a little bit more intently. And so I remember sitting in my cubicle, looking around my office, realizing that most people aren't truly happy. Most people are depressed, but most people are busy living in a state of contentment rather than a state of really enjoying their reality. And I had this deep down feeling that kind of started to grow, kind of this feeling of like, this isn't what life is about. You know, it's not about, you know, living your life to pay your bills, being stuck in a cubicle with 3 weeks vacation every year. Like this feeling that there's more to life to this. And that's what really drove me to push me to really start applying a lot of this stuff. And it was probably within like 6 to 8 months that the acquisition happened and everything kind of snowballed from there.
Gotcha. And then like 6 months later, you met Anik, and
maybe a year and a half later. The timeline still feels kind of fuzzy because there was like, you know, the acquisition. I ended up leaving my marriage. And then Anik showed up maybe 5 months after that. So, you know, but there's a clear separation for me between like what I would call my old life and my new life, where the old life was all about hard work and effort and 50-hour weeks. And, you know, I've got success in both realities, but the new life success is so much more satisfying when you're manifesting through synchronicities, when you're always following your excitement, when you're just doing what feels good. It doesn't matter how much money you're making or what you're doing. Reality is just so much more
magical.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm curious. So, okay. So like, you know, you get the acquisition 6 months in, around 6 months in, and then, you know, you find the love of your life, another, you know, like a year in, and then like, what does it, cause you know, I'm asking for myself, cause you know, I'm like, what do I expect like a year from now? You know, it's so exciting. Like, and then what, it just kind of continues to be magical. And then at some point you lose track of like, like
it's just one thing to another, right? It's just, I mean, and like over the last, you know, 6 or 7 years, like not everything goes how I want it to. Like there was the Alignment Academy story where, you know, I spent 3 months building this website and it crashed and burned, but it's all good, right? It's about understanding that like failures are just stepping stones to success. Something I posted on Instagram last year was, if you're not allowing yourself to fail, you're not allowing yourself to succeed.
That really hit me as far as you saying you experienced that situation with the Alignment Academy. And obviously now we see that turned out beautifully, even though at the time it probably didn't seem like it. You probably knew already that it was going to unfold beautifully. But like, how do you, at that time, like how do you perceive something like that, you know, something failing, right? It's like, how did you, you know, like you feel, you know, you're aligned for such a long time, and then how come this doesn't like just.
But here's the thing.
You know?
Failure is not an indication of non-alignment. So the path of least resistance is not the path of no resistance. It's not the path of no contrast. The contrast is there for your growth and expansion. It's there to serve you. It's there for you.
Bro, okay. Wow, that hit me hard.
Don't try to avoid contrast. Contrast is a good thing.
Right. I understood that, but I never put that together with the path of least resistance, right? Because wow, that just made my whole everything like make sense. Like everything just made sense now. Wow, like I need a moment, Jasmine. So real quick though, I know Jasmine's in the tech world, and so she's really infatuated with your story. Is that the right word? Infatuated? She's interested in your story and everything because like, you know, you came from the tech world and then you moved into spirituality, and that's something that she wants to move into as well. Like any kind of insight on that? Like any?
I mean, she's already doing it if she's on this podcast and she's
yeah, you are.
I swear, sometimes I just have the impulse to quit my job, move out of New York, move somewhere on a beachfront, and just allow the universe to take care of me.
Yeah, well, like, we're on the beachfront right here, and there's a house behind us for rent, so.
Good to know.
Whoa, wait, hold up.
So it's just about following impulse, right? Don't quit your job. So here's the thing. I see a lot of people who want to be coaches, and they're like, I'm quitting my 6-figure corporate job, and I'm going to be a coach. And then all of a sudden, like, they've got no income anymore. And then there's like, it creates too much wobble. So I tell people like, allow your transitions to be organic, right? Love it. So don't do things that are going to create a whole bunch of fear and resistance by making like rash, impulsive decisions, but set your intent for what you want and where you want to be, and just keep following that path of highest excitement.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the hardest part for me now, or like, I guess not hard, but I don't know exactly what I want to do. So I just know I do want to help people. I do want to be involved in spirituality and join this community and like really have live out my calling and purpose in life.
Yeah, and your inner being already has that whole path lined up for you. So you don't have to figure anything out. All you need to figure out is how you want to feel, and let the grid fill in. And your inner being is going to feed you with the impulses that are going to guide you down that path. Like here's an example. So like when I do one-on-one work, like I literally make people cry for a living, right? I do mental emotional work with one-on-one clients, right? My background's computer science, right? So in high school, if somebody said, Nick, in 20 years from now, you're going to be doing mental emotional work on people, do you think I would have done a computer science degree? No. But the computer science degree is why I'm so good at what I do, because that gave me that analytical mindset to learn how to hack people's minds and figure out what beliefs and emotions are sitting in there. Right? So we might think we know or can figure out what the ideal path for us is to get from here to there, but we don't. But our inner being does. And our only responsibility is follow our guidance from our inner being. And really that guidance comes through impulse and inspiration. Does that help?
That helps
Absolutely.
both of us a lot.
I feel so much more relaxed about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Good. And that would be deeper into the receiving mode, right?
Mm-hmm. Because in my head, I figured like I needed to have like a specific plan, because obviously if I'm going to quit my job, I need to have like a fallback and be financially stable and still keep in mind all of the practicalities of the world and our worldly duties. But
yeah, so all you need to do is ask yourself, so what excites you the most about the world of spirituality? What's the one thing that if you could spend all your time doing or studying, what would it be?
Man,
probably getting more in contact with my higher self.
Okay, so play with that idea. And you don't have to quit your job to do that, right?
Nope.
But eventually it could turn into something that allows you to do that.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I love this so much because, you know, like Nick is also so much more experienced in life than I am, right? And it's just like, so he has insights.
Is that a nice way of saying I'm old?
No.
Maybe. I'm just kidding. But no, but like for real, Jasmine, like, you know, that's so refreshing because, you know, I'm 20 years old, and it's just like I feel like I give really good insight and wisdom all the time, but just like Nick's his wisdom is just so refreshing to me, and like it's been a long time where I'm like really like just learning like that from someone, right? Like you literally like blew my mind like 10 times already, like you know, and it just kind of like answers that I really couldn't really not get anywhere else, because if you're in receiving mode you'll get it, but like it's like so crazy, like these are little, because you know, like all the big questions you get them figured out, but then it's like the little tweaks and little questions, like more alignment.
The more advanced you get, it's a refinement process. So the smaller tweaks you need to make. And that's part of the reason the collective is so powerful, because you know, it's people who are really out on that leading edge. So it's a lot of the small tweaking in the calls and the stuff we talk about.
I'm starting to see the power of your collective group, just because like whenever you get, because you know, people come together, they meditate at a park or something, but when people come together and they're vibing high, like, you know, they are the 1%, like, man, that amplifier of energy is probably crazy. You're probably like saving the world right now, like just by coming together. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, the best part is that it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. What's your routine, man? Like, what's your like, I wake up, I do a thought rampage in the morning, I do a thought rampage at night, and then I'm just really following the impulse throughout the day. That's really all I do.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a pretty boring answer, but my routine is just follow my impulse, follow my excitement.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is there a difference between kind of doing some of that positive momentum work, like, you know, like the positive aspects and thought rampage, and then following the impulse? Or if you just follow the impulse? So
here's the thing. So if you really study the Abraham Hicks community, you'll notice that for most people, alignment is kind of effort, right?
Yes.
Most people have to work their way into alignment. Yeah. And it shouldn't be like that. So alignment is our natural state. So Abraham Hicks uses the term, your cork should float at the surface, right? Yeah. And when your cork is floating, that's alignment. Yeah. So what most people are doing is they're waking up in the morning, they're doing a bunch of morning practices, they're literally pushing the cork back up to the surface, and then they're trying to hold it there so they stay in alignment, right? Yeah. My take is, instead of trying to work your way into alignment and trying to hold your alignment all the time, is to deal with all of the parts of yourself that prevent the alignment, so that when you wake up in the morning, you're naturally in alignment in the first place. And that's the big difference between people who manifest at high levels versus those who don't, is a high consistent alignment versus bouncing in and out of alignment all the time.
This whole thing is really blowing my mind, because, so obviously like the fact that I'm speaking to you now, of someone who's made the transition that I want to do eventually. And another big question that I had was, and this is getting more, so I did check out your newest book. I got it downloaded copy from Amazon Kindle yesterday. And I came across this page this morning where you're speaking about like improving your health. And for the longest time, I was trying to figure out why I was having lower back pain. I've been stretching, doing yoga, and this is exactly the information I was looking for. Underlying emotions around fears of losing control, feeling stuck and powerless. Like, even on this call right now, like everything is slowly getting into alignment for me. It's just so beautiful to witness.
Awesome. Awesome. You must be a pretty fast reader, because it sounds like you're already halfway through the book.
No, we kind of were focused on other stuff, right? And then you hit us with the email about the book, and we're like, oh my gosh. And then so she just picked it up and just probably skimmed through it real quick. Right? It just came out, man. It just came out. Like,
I'm like the health chapter is like a couple of 100 pages in almost. You're doing pretty good.
Give us some more time. So what was the process of writing? What was the intention of writing that book? Other than, you know, you say you're having fun with it, but what is like the meat of the book?
Yeah, there was no intention. So what happened was, so have you seen my free e-course, the Power Manifesting e-course?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Okay, so what happened was, I don't remember when this was, back in maybe April, May. I got off a call with one of my clients, and on the call, she was a coach, and I told her, she should create a free e-course. You've got a lot of good content. So we hung up the call, and I was thinking for a second, you know what? I've got a lot of good content. I should put together a free e-course. So I put that free e-course together. It took me like 6 hours. And literally, like, people were signing up like crazy. People loved it. A few months later, I was like, you know what? I should really add more stuff to it. And I sat down and I wrote down all of the things that I could add to that e-course, thinking I was going to shoot all these videos. I was like, nah, all those videos feels like way too much effort. But you know what? This would be an amazing book. So then literally I had this outline for this book. And then I sat down and I just felt like writing, and I just started writing. And literally 3 weeks later, about the first manuscript was done.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So there was no, I need to sit down and write a book. It was just, again, it was all just flow and excitement, right?
That's so crazy. 3 weeks, man. Like 3 weeks, man. That's crazy. And you wrote like what, 200 something pages? 260?
Yeah, it's just under 300 pages.
Wow. That's gold.
But it flows. Like when you're having fun and when you're doing what you enjoy and when you're in alignment, like, it's people, like yesterday I worked literally from like 6 a.m. until like 6:30, 7 o'clock last night. But, and I took maybe a 15-minute break, but it to me, it's not work. It's like, I'm having fun. I'm having a blast. Like when you're doing what you're loving and you're enjoying and you're excited about, everything flows and like time just flies like that.
All right. So any last questions, Jasmine?
No, I love this so much.
All right,
I really feel so much my vibe.
Yeah, so Nick, can you tell us where, I'm interested, to be honest, like where can I find, what's next if I want to find out more about your work and everything?
Yeah, that's a tough question because I got a lot,
yes.
So you can, for free options, there's my YouTube channel, youtube.com/NickBreau. I've got a free power manifesting e-course, which takes maybe like half an hour to go through, nickbreau.com/e-course. Then of course there's the new book. So if you read, it's out on Kindle and paperback, Power Manifesting on Amazon. And then of course, if you want to work your way into the vibrational 1%, I really suggest checking out the collective. That's nickbreau.com/invite. It's $25 for the first month to give it a try. And if you want to stick around after that, it's $95 a month, I think.
Okay. All right. And link in the description. All that stuff he said will be linked in the description below.
Totally.
Thank you, Nick.
Cool. Thank you so much, Nick. This was amazing.
Yeah, anytime. This was a lot of fun.
All right. Do you want to stop?